Welcome. My wife was unfaithful and says it's my fault. Her lover is in love with her. My wife and I have been married for 14 years. She is from New York and I am from Seattle. We have spent most of our relationship living in Seattle. Her father was getting older and his health was not improving, so in 2020 she made the decision to move to New York, which I did not want to do. I gave her a hard time before the move and during the move. When we got there I was much worse. I was isolated from her. She didn't like it. I didn't want to be there so much that I would fly to Seattle every 3 to 4 months and spend 4 to 5 weeks at a time there. She didn't like it either. When I'm in Seattle, I'm busy. My day usually consists of getting up, and GT, going to work, and GT, going to the gym after work, and GT, coming home, and GT, showering, and GT, eating dinner, and GT, going to bed. By the time I'm settled and getting ready for bed, it's around 9 p.m. There is a 3-hour time difference between us, so we would go days without talking to each other. He didn't like that at all. One day he sat down with me and told me he wanted to separate. When I asked him why, he gave me the above reasons. At this point, I was devastated. I felt that I was the cause of my marriage falling apart and that it was all due to my childish behavior. I spent the next few weeks begging him not to leave me. I have never expressed my feelings throughout our relationship and this has been a problem for her. In an effort to save my marriage, I have expressed my emotions more than ever to no avail. One night we were having dinner and I once again tried to convince her not to leave me. At this point, all I felt was guilt. I was practically wasting away. She says I completely destroyed my marriage and it was all due to how selfish I was. I'm going to have to live with my actions and learn from this. I already felt terrible, but her telling me that didn't make me feel any better at all. I lost my appetite and couldn't finish my dinner. We were in Seattle together in August. One day he tells me he has a friend who is pregnant and he is going to stay with her to help take care of her. It seems weird to me but well, 3 to 4 days go by and I have no idea where she is. A couple of days later, she had already been gone for a week. She finally comes home. I hug her and get so excited to see her after not knowing where she had been that I even cry. We go to California together and spend a week there. We come back and she leaves for another week, despite seeing how excited I had been. One night I was in the living room watching TV and she was asleep in the bedroom. I'm thirsty and my wife always has a bottle of water on the bedside table next to her. The bedroom is also closer to me than the kitchen, so I went over to get a drink of water. There was her phone in plain sight there and I look at the text messages and find out where she had been the time she was away. I wake her up to talk to her about it and she breaks down. She told me she had gotten the attention I wasn't giving her from someone else and she was sorry. I tell her I need to separate from her and go to a hotel. I spend 2 days alone in a hotel reflecting on what happened. Afterwards, I go back and tell her that I forgive her for what she did. I want to put it behind me and move on. Despite that, she says she still wants to separate. I am the one cheated on and she tells me to separate. Pretty retrograde if you ask me. The day is coming up when I am about to move out of New York and back to Seattle. During this time, she tells me she doesn't want me to hold on to what we had. She wants me to move on, live my life and let what needs to happen happen. If she realizes this is a mistake and she wants me back, I will be the first person to know. This is just something he wants to try. I told him I can't do that. I feel like I was the cause of my marriage being destroyed and I can't live without trying to repair what I broke. This was not what she wanted, but she knew there was no point in arguing, so she let it be. Throughout our relationship, if there was one thing she appreciated more than anything, it was the effort. She has always wanted me to fight for my relationship and show her that I really wanted to be with her. I have talked to her brother a lot during this whole ordeal. He has been so helpful in guiding me through this difficult time. I don't know where I would be without him. He has told me that if I want to make this work I am going to have to go back to what we were before we left, friends. Be there for her and remind her why she fell in love with me in the first place. That resonated with me. I'm moving out of Seattle and I remember her hating it when I ignore her when I'm in Seattle. I do not want to do that. I am in constant communication with her. I text her all day every day. We talk on the phone and FaceTime from time to time as well. One Monday she suddenly stopped answering. Like from Monday to Saturday that week she had sent me maybe 8 texts. Normally she would send me 8 texts in 5 minutes, so there's a big difference. I have a pretty good idea what the cause of her not replying was, but it was just a suspicion. The following Monday she confirmed it for me. The other guy had flown to New York and she was dating him. Of course, I was crushed, but she told me she missed me, thought about me and felt bad all the time. At that point, our wedding anniversary was 2 weeks away. During that same conversation, I talk about the possibility of taking her to Seattle to do something nice together. She makes a comment like, "I guess while I'm there I'll go see him too." I said what? She said it would be a wasted trip if I fly across the country and don't go see him too. My mind was fuzzy, so I didn't think much of what she said. I just thought it was weird. That night I go to bed later and don't sleep. I lay there, reflecting on what had happened. Then I think about his comment and realize how disrespectful it is. Throughout our relationship, I have never stood up for myself, but that comment made me very angry. That same morning I call her and tell her that I don't like what she said. It's totally disrespectful and she knew I was in a delicate state and decided to make a comment like that. It's not right. There is a brief pause and I can tell she is taken aback. She apologized and we ended the call. About 5 minutes later she sends me a message telling me that she can no longer sit there listening to my thoughts, my feelings, my revelations. It's a lot and she finds it overwhelming. I found it very ironic because, let's remember, her problem with me throughout our relationship was that I don't share my feelings. I couldn't believe it. Last time I checked, she's the one cheating on me. She's the one in a relationship with the guy she cheated on me with. She's the one who asked to separate. She's the one in total control of this relationship. In my opinion, she has no business playing the victim. I tell her this and we got into a discussion. Nothing important was said. We stopped talking for a while and then I think about her actions last year. We were in bed together and suddenly he would pull the blanket over his head to send a text. We would sit on the couch watching TV and she would turn her body to tilt the phone so I couldn't see what she was doing. Her phone would ring in the middle of the night and when I asked who it was, she would say a friend. We would be in the car and I would get a message from her, but she doesn't get to read it. When I ask her who she is, she shuts up and says just a friend. For me, trust is the basis of any relationship. I was so trusting, so naive, that all this was happening to my face and I decided to ignore it. Then I think about the guy. He's obsessed with my wife. I first saw it when he was writing her letters telling her how much he loves her, how in love he is with her, how beautiful she is, calling her his little princess. When she goes a few hours without responding to him, he texts her every 20 to 30 minutes telling her how much he misses her. He showers her with gifts. When we were in Seattle there was a restaurant we always went to. Every time I go to Seattle, he asks me to go get something and bring it to him, but I've been really busy, so I've never had a chance to do that. This guy sent her boxes and boxes. He has his name tattooed on it. It sickens me to know that there is a married woman who is lonely, vulnerable and insecure and he took advantage of her. He knew she was married and yet he continued to pursue her. Because she was so insecure, she was willing to accept any kind of attention and went from no attention, me, to a lot, him. That same night he calls me. Once again I tell him that I was the cause of my marriage falling apart and that I can't live without trying to repair what I had broken. For the first time, he accepts that I want to fight for my marriage and that gives me the first sign of hope in a long time. We talked for an hour and a half and I thought it was a productive conversation until, for some reason towards the end, he asked me if I have been seeing anyone else or if I plan to see anyone else. This caught me off guard because it took the conversation in a completely different direction than we had taken before. To get back at her, I ask her how it is possible that she is already seeing someone else and how long she plans to continue to do so. She replies, "That's none of your business." Yes, she throws her new relationship in my face and mocks me. A couple of days later we talked again about his visit to Seattle for our anniversary. We were about to make plans when he tells me, you're not going to tell me what I can or can't do when I'm there. I ask him if he plans to see him and he says most likely. Our anniversary is on a Monday, so his plan was to come here, spend the weekend together and then the rest of the week with him. Obviously, I don't agree with that. I tell him to forget it, not to bother. She gets mad, but I don't care. Remember I said she had all the control over our relationship? I took that control away from her and it felt amazing. One Thursday night we talk about our plans for the weekend. She said her plan was to clean up and have a quiet weekend. I told her I was going to a party. She tells me to have fun, bye. I know her well enough to know that means she is angry. I ask her if she wants to talk on the phone. Not to apologize, but to talk on the phone like we normally do. She tells me I don't feel like talking to you. I shrug and leave her alone for the rest of the night. The next day I go to see her and ask her how she is. She tells me great, go have fun at her party. I'm confused and ask her if she's really mad that I went to her party. He says he doesn't care, but go have fun at the party, drinking and trying to pick up women. Throughout our relationship, when he gets angry, I apologize to him even though I don't think it's my fault, usually to get him to shut up and stop getting angry. This time I didn't apologize for going to a party. I just told him it was just a party and it wasn't that big of a deal. One night, I went out for drinks with some friends. I posted a picture on my story, and didn't think much of it. The next day she called me screaming. She told me that the photo was inconsiderate, that I had done it to make her jealous and show her something. I tried to explain to her that there were clearly 3 glasses and another body in the picture, so it's not like he was having a drink with the woman. She says it doesn't matter, it's the fact that she is front and center. She's always had jealousy issues throughout our relationship, so I don't quite believe her. We finally agreed that I would go to New York for our anniversary. When I get there, they take down all the pictures of me or us and replace them with the new guy, and they are everywhere. We go out to dinner and he tells me there's no point in trying anymore. It's over and in the end he is going to ask for a divorce. I realize the same thing and accept. The next day I talk to his 15-year-old sister. She tells me that what my wife is doing to me is not right, that I shouldn't put up with it. I should get angry, I deserve so much better. I agree with her. I get angry, pull out my cell phone, text a friend and ask her out. She says yes, then I go back to work. I work from home, and I'm sitting about 6 feet away from my wife. I pull out my cell phone to text and make plans and she asks me what I'm doing. I tell her I'm working, and she says on your phone. I tell her it's none of your business. She tells me to let her see your phone. I tell her no. He repeats it back to me and I say no again. She takes my phone, sees the messages and gets angry. I have never seen her so angry in my life. She yells at me to get the hell out of her house, that she never wants to see me again and never wants to talk to me again. I am in New York without a car, so my only option at this point was Uber to a hotel. This was on a Tuesday and my flight back was on a Saturday, and I have to work so I can't just fly back. Living in a hotel without a car is like being in a prison. I have nowhere to go, I can't go out to buy food, I had to live off DoorDash. While at the hotel, she asked me if I wanted to be with her, to which I said of course. She asked me if I still had that date set with the girl and I said yes. She says it doesn't make sense for me to want to be with her when I still have a date set with another girl. Now I see what she's doing. She's manipulating me into trying to cancel the date with her. I tell him okay, I'll cancel, which I didn't actually do. To my surprise, she says okay, I'm going to bed, good night, and that's it. I'm glad I didn't cancel. Saturday arrives and he finally agrees to pick me up and take me to the airport. During the ride, I realize that he has chosen a very specific music. When we were in California, we were in the car and I told him to play whatever music he wanted. He started playing sappy love songs. He doesn't normally listen to this kind of music and I told him about it. He tells me that now I feel like listening to it. It's the same music he played when he picked me up at the airport. It's the same music he played when he drove me to the airport. About 10 to 15 minutes before he drops me off, I find out it was a playlist the other guy had made for him. I tell him to turn it off and he tells me it's just music and that he likes the songs. I tell him no, that they are songs that remind him of the other guy. He gives me a hard time, but in the end he agrees to turn it off. This left me very, very bad. The car ride from the airport takes an hour, so we have a lot of time to talk. During the drive he confessed to me that when he was in Seattle, he was curious. He had to go see what it was like to be with another person. During the time she was with the other guy, she said he treated her so well that she finally felt what it was like to be happy, and that gave her the courage to leave me. She says if I love her, I want her to be happy, whoever she is with. She says she is looking forward to finally being happy with this guy. This does not make me happy for her at all. It makes me feel belittled, insignificant, like I am nothing. I go back to Seattle and she asks me what my plans are for the weekend. I tell her I'm going out of town to visit a friend. She asks me what friend, what's his name, boy or girl. I make up a boy's name because I don't feel like arguing with her, but I was actually dating a girl. She spends the next few days questioning my every move and asking me who I'm with. There was even one night I was out with friends, so I didn't respond to her for about 3 hours and she got mad at me. It actually got to be quite suffocating. One day she does something familiar, she pretty much stops responding to his texts and I have a pretty good idea why. I also notice that at this point, she stops questioning my every move. The few times she does speak to me, she shows little to no interest in who I'm with or what I'm doing, a stark contrast to her behavior a few days earlier. We have been living at his mother's house and there have been a lot of problems. He tells me that they have fixed a lot of things. I asked him how and he told me that the other guy had done it and told me everything he had done. I laughed and told him that he literally could have listed everything that was done without actually telling me that he was there. I knew he was there, but not even mentioning it would not have been enough for me. She says it would have been impossible for her to tell me how everything was arranged without mentioning it to him, which I strongly disagree with. At this point, I think I need a break from her, so I decided to stop talking to her. It's funny that when she's not with him, she wants to know everything I'm doing. But when he is with her, she doesn't care about anything. Suddenly I see that she had made her new relationship official on Facebook, dated June 2021. As far as I know, and our family knows, we were still together in June 2021. What makes this truly disgusting is that her father ended up passing away in November 2021. I was with her that night. Her whole family was there with us. I was there with her entire family during his funeral. And she dates the relationship in June 2021. At this point, I decided I'm not going to talk to her anymore. A couple of days go by and she contacts me. I reply with a word or two, hoping to let her know that I'm not interested in talking to her. She knows me well enough to know that something is not right and asks me. I tell her I have nothing to say to her at the moment and she asks me what's new. I reply that I either have a lot to say or I have nothing to say, and that she really doesn't want to hear what I have to say. She then tells me that she will probably be in Seattle soon to file for divorce. That's when I decided I was going to give her what she deserved. I unloaded on her, I called her names, told her she had no self-respect and to never speak to me again. She tells me she doesn't care, I'm just giving her what she wants. She has been wanting it for a long time. If I had treated her better, this would not have happened, and she blocks me. A few days later, a year after her father passed away, I call her without any intention of talking about us. I just tell her that she and her family are in my thoughts. I love her father and miss him very much. There is a short pause and she tells me that she is glad that she is already talking to other women. I am confused and ask her what she means. She tells me that maybe you should be careful what you put in your story. I get confused again because he has unfollowed me on Instagram. I check my story and see that he has seen it. I realize he was following me. I know this because, since he unfollowed me, he had to actively search for my name to see my story. Context: slander. It's a two-person musical group that I went to a concert. Anyway, I text her and ask her if she's really mad about it, and she tells me she doesn't care and to go talk to the plethora of other women instead of her. I tell her that I called with the sole intention of paying my respects to her father and that I didn't want to get into this. She says goodbye and we end the conversation. I go a few days without speaking to her again and she tells me she wants to meet to discuss the terms of the divorce, to which I agree. A few minutes later, she starts to show signs of reconsidering the divorce. She says she never thought she would find herself in this situation. He didn't marry me to end up getting a divorce. We agreed that we would also sit down and talk about us when we saw each other. We are trying to find a place and time to see each other, but most ideas clash with our schedule. Then she tells me that she has to depend on the other guy to drive her and that she can't go wherever and whenever because he has an important job where he is a director of a real estate company. The truth is that I don't know what it has to do with it, but I feel that he has taken the opportunity to throw his job in my face. I tell her that I don't care what he does for a living, let's clear this up. When we finally meet, she starts the conversation with, if at any point I don't feel comfortable with this conversation, I'm getting up and leaving. At that point I realized that I had gotten myself into a losing battle. She then proceeds to tell me everything I have done wrong during our relationship and after. She blamed me for her insecurities. I had to listen to her justify her reason for cheating on me and I couldn't say anything about it or defend myself or else she would leave me. I also couldn't really express how I felt for that very reason. The few times I spoke, her eyes would wander in different directions, so she wasn't paying attention to what I was saying. Needless to say, the conversation went nowhere. At one point, the exact words that came out of his mouth were literally word for word, "I'm sorry I cheated on you, but I did it for a reason," and I couldn't say anything back. During our relationship, if I go a certain amount of time without talking to her, she would do this annoying thing where she would send another text that just says, "Okay." Example, "What are you doing?" an hour later without a response because I would be busy with something. Okay. It's so annoying. I get home and I'm on the phone with someone. He texts me that he got home. I was on the phone, so I don't see the message. She finishes the text okay. Afterwards, I tell her, "Hey, sorry, I was on the phone." She asks me who with. I don't feel like answering, so I tell her, "Your mom." She tells me probably with one of the dozens of women you are talking to. I tell him I have no idea where he got that idea from and he replies, "Then tell me who you were talking to on the phone." I tell him I'm not entertaining this discussion and that I'm going to bed. I take a trip to Texas to visit family and while I'm there I pay a visit to some friends as well. I have barely spoken to her, but she knows I am in Texas. She comes up to me and asks me what I'm doing. Of course, I don't answer, so she texts, "Okay." I tell her, "Hey, sorry, I was having dinner." She interrogates me. She asks me who I was having dinner with, what I am in Texas for and who I went to Texas to visit. I tell her I can't keep doing this, it's overwhelming and stressing me out. He tells me to answer my questions. I tell him again I'm going to bed and end the conversation. I just want some thoughts on her behavior. She is the one who cheated on me and told me she wanted to separate, but she still dictates my actions and wants to control my every move. Why? What does she gain by knowing who I am with or who I was talking to on the phone? What is her motive? He has clearly moved on and is in a new relationship, so why is he trying to manipulate me into canceling my date with another girl? Also, I haven't spoken to her in a week. I know that keeping in contact with her is not good for my emotional health, so I am trying to prepare myself to cut off communication with her. Any other opinions or questions are also welcome. Thanks for reading all of this. Comments. I am exhausted just reading that. The emotional gymnastics you are doing is amazing. You need to lock down your credit, all your finances, pull all investment statements, real estate deeds, insurance policies, etc. to find out balances, records, contact information, to make sure she is not making any sneaky moves that will affect you in the long run. Next, you should hire a lawyer and block his body everywhere. Stop waiting for him to do something. You have been reacting to his every move, bending over backwards and taking his punches. It's time to stop and start charting a path to free yourself from this narcissist. Spend 5 minutes imagining what your life would be like with a partner who respected you, enjoyed your company and cared about you. Let go of your ex, don't maintain any contact. Enjoy being single for a while, all this will bring you peace. If what you say is true, your wife is a controlling, manipulative and narcissistic. What to do? Divorce her, ghost her, block her from everything in your life and erase her from your life. You don't need to talk to her anymore. Those actions alone will drive her to the point of insanity. If you ever meet her again, just look at her, and tell her, "Who are you?" and walk away. I can't believe you put up with that abuse. It just baffles me. I would never have married her. She is a red flag walking, with extra flashing lights around her that says don't come near me, but I guess you like bright lights. Do yourself a favor, block her on everything. Get a lawyer and introduce her, have the lawyer handle communications between you. Whatever failures you had in your marriage, she had other alternatives than hooking up with another guy. That she chose that path is her fault. Her behavior is way over the narcissistic scale. They don't like it when you find someone to replace them, even after they have made it clear they don't want you. Everything she has done has been to get back with you. Just get her out of your life. Let Mr. So Important be her only source of food, he won't make it either. The level of kibble feeding she has been doing is not really sustainable long term. Stop fantasizing that you can still be friends. She doesn't love you, whatever she says. For your own sanity, disconnect and divorce her. She's officially with the other guy for 18 months, and probably longer unofficially. It's time for you to move on.